Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 239 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we are finishing off our Universal Monster retrospective, SUMMER SLAYCATION. It seemed like it went for 5 summers.
Yeah, but you know what, Brian? I'm in full October mode. Like, I am totally, I've already been buying the pumpkin spice. I'm sitting here sipping Sam Adams Oktoberfest out of my Slaughtered Lamb IPA glass. I've got the Halloween wallpaper. I am full, like, I'm ready. I'm full October mode at this point. I'm not going back to summer.
Nice. This is I'm done with summer too. We're in fall Halloween mode. I mean, like I realized I'm like, oh my god, you know what? We have literally a week to start to finalize our horror challenge to get that out because we like to give you that a few days early. There is a lot of stuff I have planned for this weekend to work on. So this like it kind of like snuck up on me. I think because of my brother's wedding. The week after Labor Day, because it went into Labor Day and then that week, and then, Julie's family was here. And so now I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. We're like mid-September.
Yes.
Like October is like approaching very frantically towards us, which is good. And then we have a lot of fun stuff this October coming out between the two big movies for us, which is Terrifier 2 and Halloween. And, then we got our horror challenge. And next week, as long as now that Tim put a wrinkle in a little damper on my plans here, because we were all excited for Halloween and we realized right now it's predicted for rain. Let's hope that changes. But that would be a tradition for Tim and I going together. It always seems to rain when Tim and I meet there. But so hopefully that will change and we will get at least, it doesn't need to be like a beautiful sunny day. It just does not need to pour on us
the entire time. And we're going to be there for 2 days. So it's not like, we got a 48-hour period of just, even if it's just scattered showers, that's fine. Yeah. We just don't need it like downpours the entire time.
Yeah, because that really like just it dampers the really cool atmosphere that Howl-O-Scream provides with because they're really big on where I want to say like so where Universal excels with the houses are great, the food special food options, the drink option, all that kind of stuff is great, but it's really the houses that are top notch there and you can't really compare. But I think actually Howl-O-Scream at some level does, and maybe it's because of Busch Gardens Williamsburg's layout to begin with, which there's a lot of tight spaces, a lot of foliage, a lot of like cool old style buildings around. It's not Universal really has to do a full number to create the atmosphere, where Busch Gardens just has to kind of decorate because the atmosphere is already there. So I think I enjoy the scare zones at Busch Gardens better than I do at Busch Gardens rather than Universal. So that's like, to me, I feel like that's, if we were to lose out a lot if we didn't get that because of the weather. So let's hope it changes. There's still a week away. It's hard to predict these things these days. So yeah.
I think we'll be fine. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, but it doesn't matter. We'll have fun either way because we get to see our good friends Brian and Julie.
Yeah, I mean, and I could feel. I assume what would happen, of course, is if it does rain, Tim and I will be in that little craft beer corner for the rest of the evening, just hanging out in there. Shoot, maybe we'll sneak a board game in and just go hang out in that big fest house on a thing.
There you go. All right, well, let's get to our final part of our Summer Slaycation. This is wrapping up the Invisible Man series. Very weird series because the films are kind of all over the place, except for the first 2, which we covered last week, which were a great original and a really solid sequel, right? That we both really enjoyed. The last 3 are a little weird because they go kind of all over the place, which we'll get into. And first up is probably the weirdest of the bunch. Yeah, this is The Invisible Woman.
Not Sue Storm, by the way.
No, not her.
Which I was very disappointed to realize. No, I knew that wasn't about that movie.
The Invisible... I totally forgot about Sue Storm. There you go. And I loved Fantastic Four as a kid. The Invisible Woman, 1940, directed by A. Edward Sutherland, starring Virginia Bruce as Kitty Carroll, John Barrymore as Professor Gibbs, John Howard as Richard Russell, Charles Ruggles as George, Oscar Homolka as Blackie Cole, Edward Brophy as Bill, Donald McBride as Foghorn.
So many names, sorry.
The great Margaret Hamilton, which you know is the Wicked Witch of the West, as Mrs. Jackson. Shemp Howard, one of the Three Stooges.
Yes, that's Shemp Howard, by the way.
As Frankie. Ann Nagel as Jean. Catherine Adams as Peggy. Maria Montez as Marie. Charles Lane as Growly. An attractive model with an ulterior motive volunteers as guinea pig for an invisibility machine. Now, this very well may be the least horror title we've ever covered, ever featured on Civil Gore. I think this might hold the record, because this is a straight-up comedy. There is no horror in this whatsoever. It is a straight-up slapstick comedy.
Yeah, I'd say argue a slapstick romantic comedy, no less.
Yes.
Like, there's even romance in this thing. Yeah, it's everything but horror, in fact. But I'll tell you this, though. I actually really enjoyed it, though. Like, even with that, I mean, especially when Shemp got in. I mean, they even have Shemp doing, like, Shemp things in it.
Yes.
Like, I mean, there's, like, because he's with two other guys, like, two other bumbling guys, it almost felt like a alternate reality Three Stooges at some points.
Yeah, it's very, oh gosh, I don't know how to describe it. So, I went in knowing, I think it was good that I went in knowing it was not a horror movie. That I knew it was a comedy, so I was had already prepped myself that I shouldn't be looking for a Universal monster movie. And I think that helped my expectations going in. But I'm the same way. I really enjoyed this one. Now, my rankings are not going to reflect that, and I'll explain that when we get to them. But I actually really enjoyed this one for what it was. Was it corny? Yes. Was it super campy? yes. The butler was completely over the top.
I mean, literally the first 3 seconds of the movie, he walks in and he does one of those Pratt falls with a
oh my, yeah.
That
I mean,
sound
it was that level of this. Let me show you the type of. This is the kind of humor that was in. There's one scene they were like, "Call the airport," and he goes, "Airport." No, I mean on the phone, you idiot. You know, that kind of, that's the kind of low-brow humor.
There's almost like a hint of the Zucker brothers in there a little bit, you know?
Exactly.
Like if the Zucker brothers did like this, and not Dracula Dead and Loving It, like that.
Yeah.
Like that's, it's actually better than that. So... it's like, and you told me, you like said, okay, this is flat out comedy, but like this, I think this one points for me just because of between the Margaret Hamilton being in there and the ability to do the DiCaprio point meme when Shemp appears, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, that is, and Shemp is my favorite. Out of all those Three Stooges.
By far.
Yeah.
By far.
I mean,
not even close.
Yeah, and he was always great. And there's one, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, you gotta look this up one. It's called Income Tax Sappies. I don't know if you ever saw that one. It's where Mo, Larry, and Shemp, they try and do income taxes, and then they realize they could, how they just cheat on the tax, and they realize they could do it for everyone else that way. But this is the one that my friend Mark and I literally watched about 1 million times. We could not get through. We used to have a challenge to try and get through the entire 15 minutes without laughing, and it never went well. Never even came close. I mean, it's got some of the best gags in it. It's got it's just got it's literally every 5 seconds there's something to laugh at in it. There's rarely a dull moment. So you have to look that one up. It's a classic. Yeah. If not, I actually have it on VHS still. I have a VHS version. I can transfer that to a disc.
I still quote Shemp to this day because there was and I don't know which episode it was, but there was one where he's pouring gravy on his dinner and he goes, "I loves gravy."
That's the one. That's
from the same one?
Yes, that's it. Where he goes, "Oh, I loves gravy. I love the," and then it goes and then the one where his thing rolls up and it goes, like his little fake collar. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so
that is
was
hilarious.
one of my favorites because I'm the same way. I still say that at Thanksgiving, you can't pass me gravy. Period. At Thanksgiving or any dinner that I don't. If I'm putting gravy on rice, I will always say, "I loves gravy." I will always say that.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to tell Mark that one because that's literally, we do the same thing because we used to, that one, the whole thing. And do you remember the part with the hot dog where they're trying to kill the hot dog and it runs away? Oh my God.
He's back there chopping and they think that the diners think that he's chopping up the dog. and he's really just hitting the chopping block. And
that's a different one. Maybe there's a second gravy one then, because there's this one where they have where he tries to get the hot dog, and it jumps away from Moe's plate and goes, and he goes, my hot dog ran away, and
okay, it might be, I might be mixing two up though, because
food was a very big
right
joke, so that's hard.
The gravy
to tell.
one might be the one you're talking about, and I'm mixing up the one where they were chopping the chopping board, and they thought the dog was being because that was the one where they were running a restaurant. It wasn't the income tax one. But anyway, I love Three Stooges. I used to watch them all the time. That and Little Rascals. They used to show them back to back in the day. There was like Little Rascals, and then there was a Three Stooges. I absolutely love those. I've watched probably all of those.
And we are not the only ones. Just to do a little not to go off on a tangent, but like when's that stopped us before?
But we're gonna go off on a tangent.
We're gonna go off on not a lot of people realize that, Shemp was technically before Curly, and then he left and came back. But, and they tried, remember at one point they tried to do the fake Shemp, which is, of course, where Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, if you notice in a lot of credits, any kind of like stand-in double kind of character they have, they name it fake Shemp. So there is a connection to horror here, and so I
hated fake Shemp episodes.
Those were awful. Well, remember there was Joe and then Curly Joe, which was like an attempt to combine like Curly character in there. Why didn't they just make him like Curly Shemp? I mean, like whatever. But Shemp's had a big career too, like out of the Three Stooges when he left, and they like basically begged him to come back. But yeah, so I'm glad to know. See, Tim and I were like really meant to do this podcast. I mean, the fact, because that's one of those dividing things. Everyone's favorite Stooge. Everyone's that. And it's usually obviously the two big ones are Shemp versus Curly, because that's like the third Stooge is the one they know, because Larry and Moe were consistent through all of them. So that seems to be the one. Nobody cares about like Joe and Curly Joe.
No, Shemp was always. I mean, ever since I was a kid, he was always my favorite Stooge, no question. It wasn't even a competition. Totally. But that's funny. But yeah, so I can't talk about my rankings yet. I'll explain it when I get to my rankings. I ranked what I did. But just suffice it to say, I really enjoyed this one for what it was. Don't go into it expecting a Universal horror movie. It's just an old slapstick, corny comedy, and if you like that kind of thing, I think you're going to like this one. And the effects are the same. I mean, it's the same Invisible Man effects we've seen in other. I think they're probably a little more cheap on the budget for this one. I don't know what the budget for this one was, but I don't know. I guess all of these I've been able to see like strings and stuff in some of these. I guess because you're watching it on a big TV and high def nowadays, you get to see kind of some of the. Sometimes you actually see the fishing line and stuff they're using. But I know for some reason I noticed it in this movie a lot more. But yeah, it's very corny. It's very predictable, but I don't know. I had a grin on my face the whole time I was watching it. It was the plot's thin. I mean, you just have to watch it. I would just go into it with an open mind. I'll put it that way, because it's definitely not really what I would consider an Invisible Man as a archetype type movie. It's just completely its own thing.
It's very different, and it was the whole different motive too, kind of all the other ones. It's like, I mean, except like this one was like, the only reason she agreed was like she wanted the revenge on her mean boss, kind of a thing. So
this is like the Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily Tomlin is to the Incredible Shrinking Man, which was like a straight up horror sci-fi classic. Then you got the Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily Tomlin, which is just a complete farce comedy thing. That's kind of what it reminded me of. It's just completely different.
Yeah, it's like you took the technology there and the but yeah, you like the same the whatever the technology or the serum or whatever you want to do, but just to add a different genre to it. So it's the same.
But I like the Incredible Shrinking Woman. I used to watch that all the time.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah,
1981. If you for you
Cone ordered me that on Blu-ray when we were ordering one of the.
I used to watch it. I guess it came on HBO all the time. I used to watch.
Oh my god! It was like it literally you could not turn on HBO at one point without seeing it once a day. And that like, I mean, of course, I had to look at the the Galaxy Glue, and then like the one of the things, like another one of movies that my friend Mark and I quote incessantly, and like there's like we compare things to it. Like remember the part when like they were chasing Sydney the ape around, and then he turns and he gives him the finger, and the finger, like the middle finger is so big. Like that's like so anytime now a middle finger goes up in any kind of thing, we like laugh because it's like compared to that. Or the thing when he's like, where Mark Blankfield, where he's like, Sydney in pain, Sydney heart hurt, so we quote that all the time, and it's like, and if you look at that had a good cast in it. That had
it had incredible. It had Ned Beatty and Charles Grodin.
Yeah.
Of course,
did it have and what's that other guy? The one that's always, it was in The Burbs. That he was one of the mean guys in it. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his actual name, but you know who I mean when you saw him. That it. But yeah, no, it was like I'm looking up his name right now. Henry Gibson.
Henry Gibson. Yes, I love Henry Gibson.
And it had Elizabeth Wilson, of course, who was what she was famous for, of course, was well, I mean, she happened to be in The Birds, but so there's the horror connection. But of course, she was from Roz in 9 to 5.
Yes.
Holy Maird, So there was there's a lot to Oh, and how could we forget? Like John Glover was in was in that too. Remember, of course he was from Gremlins 2 and a million other things he was in. But that had a really fun thing. And Rick Baker, of course, did the Sydney. So there's another horror connection. So you got a lot of good horror connection there.
Yeah, so we're not completely off base.
No, we find always a way to bring it in there. And of course, and I'm looking through the credits, and there was a young Martin Ferraro in there, which of course was, I can't do that. So there's like, this literary movie is like is almost like the center cog in like the Brian and Tim theme park of references on Civil War.
We're like the 6 degrees of the Incredible Shrinking Woman.
It really is. It's like all around there. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. So so this was a comedy. It was fun, enjoyable. Definitely not horror related. But now I guess the next one goes. It still doesn't go to horror, and that's The Invisible Agent. This one goes into true, full on like spy espionage thriller with like a hint of Invisible Man, because it does. At least it connects the main character, right? I mean, for one of them,
it's the Invisible Man's grandson,
right?
Is the one that's developing the formula, and this one was in 1942, so 2 years later. Directed by Edwin L. Marin, starring Ilona Massey as Maria Sorensen, John Hall, remember that name, as Frank Raymond, back. Peter Lorre as Baron Aikido. You know what? I never knew who Peter Lorre was except from Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Oh,
because you remember he used to always be in Bugs Bunny cartoons. Him and Humphrey Bogart, they were always like featured in the old Looney Tunes stuff whenever they had like celebrity cameos. Yeah, that's how I
know. Well, Humphrey Bogart was just easy to draw, I guess.
And Peter Lorre, he was so distinctive. Like they always like caricatured him. So it was like years I knew that character and I knew the name from the Bugs Bunny cartoons until I actually saw him in actual, when I got older and so I actually started watching old films, and then I saw the real Peter Lorre. It's just kind of funny. I knew of him in animated form long before I actually knew him as an actor. And he plays a Japanese guy, Baron Aikido, in this one, which was strange because he was Hungarian. He was often cast in Japanese roles, but back
then they did that things I did not very acceptable, of course, today.
Yeah,
but
no, but first, for some reason, I guess from his look, they would cast him as Japanese. Cedric Hardwicke as Conrad Stauffer, J. Edward Bromberg as Carl Heiser, Albert Basserman as Arnold Schmidt, John Lytle as John Gardner, Holmes Herbert as Sir Alfred Spencer, and Key Luke as Surgeon. The Invisible Man's grandson uses his secret formula to spy on Nazi Germany.
Now, you know who Key Luke is, right, Tim? What he ended up going on to portray at one point?
I do not know off the top of my head.
He is in one of your favorite films of all time.
Ooh.
He is one that you have passed on to your children as one of their favorites now. I'll give you a hint. It's a gateway horror holiday classic.
A gateway horror holiday classic. Oh, it's got to be Gremlins.
Yes, he was the grandfather in Gremlins that passed
you're
on
right.
the
You're
Mogwai.
right. Wow, you're right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so look at that connection. Like years later, from 1942, from The Invisible Agent to years later, he would be in such a beloved movie. It's such a very small role,
Yeah.
but still,
it's a very memorable role.
Memorable role,
wow.
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I figured you'd get a kick. I was like, I wonder if Tim knows that little piece of trivia.
I did not know that. That's awesome. I found that out right live on air. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, this one. Okay, so this one is definitely a very straightforward World War II, like rah-rah propaganda type movie. And in that way, I mean, yes, it can be a little problematic with the racial stuff, especially where the Japanese are concerned. I mean, there's like one line in here where he's like, I can't tell you Japs apart. And I'm just like cringing over there because it just had that kind of, early
But
40s.
they said it that way back then.
Yeah,
so
it was
you have
really
to, when you watch, that's where it's always that tricky thing, when you're trying to look for those older movies and people say, oh, well, that got away with it. I said, you have to remember the time back then. It was different. People were not sensitive to that as they are now.
Yeah.
So you have to, when you watch these, you have to kind of, as hard as it is, I'll tell you, it is hard because we're so
and not to
and
excuse it.
that.
Again, like we said
No,
before,
not
not to
excusing
excuse it. We're not excusing
Yeah.
it. You're just saying, just go in prepared that you're going to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and just transport yourself back into that time where, where people, unfortunately, were not sensitive to that, and they didn't realize how they made other people feel with stuff like that. But, so don't let it try not to let it distract you from the movie at hand, is basically what I was trying to say. But
I've never been a big fan of the World War II era, even the post World War II era films created around then that were so like gung ho patriotism, and it was a very glamorized version of World War II. And I love World War II history. Like I love the documentaries. I loved watching all the History Channel documentaries. Loved like Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers. I love all that stuff. What I don't like is the old John Wayne, superhero type World War II stuff. I have never gotten into those kind of films. I don't, they're not reflective of reality really. So I've just never been a big fan. And that's why I think I didn't like this movie much at all. I really just didn't find it interesting. It's an interesting plot for this type of movie because obviously, if you're a spy who's actually invisible, that's kind of an intriguing premise.
I mean, that's like ultimate spying.
Right, yeah. So I enjoyed the premise of it, I guess, was not, didn't turn me off at all. It's just I didn't really care for it. And John Hall, I thought, was a horrible actor in this. I don't know. It's so weird because when he's going to appear in the next movie, The Invisible Man's Revenge, I thought he was like 10 times better. But it's for some reason in this movie, he has this weird theatrical flair to him that's like, well, darling, I'll see to this spot. I mean, it's just got this weird, like, stagey, theatrical delivery to every line, and it sounds so fake. It sounds like somebody, like on SNL, that would be doing a parody of a 1940s movie. That's what it sounded like to me, and it was so distracting to me. But now, there's things to like. Peter Lorre's awesome in this. He's awesome in everything. I love Peter Lorre, but he's really good in this. Even as playing against race, he's still like the focus of every scene he's in. Like I found myself looking forward to the Peter Lorre scenes. But I don't know what you thought about it, Brian. But to me, I don't know. I think it was more. It wasn't necessarily the movie itself. It was just more the style of movie that I'm just not a fan of, combined with the distraction of John Hall, who I didn't really care for in this.
Yeah,
in this role.
I mean, I kind of like. I mean, I kind of not so against these type of this type of movies like you were, but the you know what movie it reminded me of in a lot of sequences is Inglourious Basterds a little bit.
Yeah,
and especially the part with the with how they had the blonde act. I don't know if she was an actress, but she seemed like an actress in it that was like a spy, and the whole, well, spoiler alert. She was like the spy, and he had to rendezvous with her, and the same thing where he like. They tried to make a deal with the Nazi general who kind of flipped and flopped, and I don't know. It was just like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to see that in the middle of, this whole series. That's what's hard about these last three is like there's like that you almost can't rank them in the same ranking as some level as the first two. It was different. But I mean, I didn't not enjoy it. I mean, it's like hard at this point because you kind of know you're going in, you're not really getting a horror film anymore,
right,
left out of the last three. I mean, I wouldn't say it was bad by any means.
No, and I don't want to, even though, and when I say I didn't like it, I feel kind of bad saying that I didn't like it because I was entertained throughout, and there were some scenes that I really, really liked. Like I actually loved the whole thing where he's that German guy that that he breaks out at one point, and I like that whole sequence where he's like basically revealing himself to the guy. He's invisible, and he's kind of revealing himself to the guy and like trying to bust him out for various reasons. There's a lot of like treachery and who's on which side kind of stuff going on. I actually like that kind of stuff in the film, and like I said, I already liked Peter Lorre's character, so I was entertained throughout. I would definitely not say, "Oh, this movie was terrible, don't go see it." It's just that as a part of the franchise as a whole, it was my least favorite when it comes down to it. But yeah, I agree. There's something. I think every Universal movie has something to offer.
Yeah, I mean, there was that I did like the sequence where when he first appears there and like she's trying to like kind of like entertain the guy, entertain him a little bit, like, and like he's like causing all this problem. She can't stop laughing and basically blows all the work that she's trying to do. That part I found enjoyable because like it is funny. It's like this guy is like losing his mind and she can't stop laughing and he gets so offended and basically puts her on house arrest because of it, totally wreaking havoc to their plan. But but still, I mean, overall, it was, like I said, it's a good movie. It just it's hard to. If you're looking for horror at this point in this series, you're just stick with the first two. But
yeah, well, that brings us to the last of the series, The Invisible Man's Revenge, 1944, directed by Ford. I don't know if you say Beebe or Beebe. He's Beebe, so apologies for that. Starring John Hall again, but he plays a completely different character this time. He's
much better in this, much more suitable acting. Yeah,
as Robert Griffin, you might notice the Griffin name they borrowed from the original Invisible Man, which has kind of been the only real through line of these movies. Evelyn Ankers is Julie Herrick, Alan Curtis is Mark Foster, Leon Errol is Herbert Higgins, John Carradine is Dr. Peter Drury, Gail Sundergaard is Irene, Lady Herrick. Lester Matthews as Sir Jasper Herrick, Halliwell Hobbs as Cleghorn. No Foghorn this time.
I know Foghorn was the other one. Now that's Cleghorn.
Leyland Hodgson as Sir Frederick Travers, and Cyril Delavanti as Malty Bill, the shopkeeper.
I figured that's one of my favorite nicknames I've ever heard. Malty Bill,
I love that whole sequence, actually, yeah. An eccentric scientist helps a fugitive from the law become invisible, unwittingly giving him the power to exact revenge on his former friends. Now, this one, even though this one is more of I think you could class if the third movie was a comedy and the fourth movie was like a World War II spy thriller, this one you could arguably say this was more like a mystery drama, mystery,
like mystery thriller,
mystery
drama.
Theater, thriller type thing.
Like you're right, I could totally see this as like a play. The way this acts out.
It really feels like one of those like. I won't say necessarily murder mystery, but like crime thriller type mystery movies. And I actually kind of like this one, and I think the reason why is because after the previous two, it kind of does get back on track with the series in terms of it at least has some semblance of kind of a thriller type aspect to it, where the other two did not. So. In that respect, and you'll see in my rankings, that's why I ranked it a little higher, is because I felt like it kind of steered the series back on track a little bit. And I also like John Hall is like 100 times better in this movie. I don't know what it was. I was sitting there watching it and I go, oh God, this guy again. And then he actually puts in like a really good performance. And I'm like, okay, this guy can actually legitimately act. Like based on The Invisible Agent, I thought this guy was just a complete hack. that just did theater work, but you could tell in this movie he's actually a good actor.
Yeah.
Which was weird. I don't know why, unless it was the directing or something, or just the style.
And he's sinister in this too. I mean,
yeah, he plays this convict that we find out had murdered, like he broke out of a mental asylum and had murdered like 3 people busting out of the mental asylum, and he hops this boat, stows away on this boat, comes over, and he's there's a whole elaborate setup where he goes back to this family that he knew, and they end up double crossing him, and then he's got to try to get revenge, and then along the way he finds this scientist who has the invisibility formula, and that's how he
why didn't he have that? I don't understand. He was the grandson, like why, or he was a relative, right? Of
I don't know.
Or is he just, or is just the name?
It's just the name. I don't think he was actually related. I think this
because that was one of the things that, like, I was like curious. I'm like, wait, why did he not have this formula?
No, I don't think he was
like
related.
that's what I was waiting for when I heard the Griffin name. I'm like, oh, he's gonna find this. He's gonna go like to escape. He's gonna go back to his family's home and find something there to invisible himself or something. Okay.
I mean, I really liked his. He's got this friend in this. It's kind of the comic relief, I guess. That's basically kind of his quote-unquote friend is a little bit of a huckster, I guess you would say. But there's a great scene.
And not the Hulkster, not like,
the Hulkster.
Say your prayers or take your vitamins. What you gonna do, Mean Gene? Yeah, not Hulkster. Huckster. Just to be clear.
Using old-timey words here.
Yes. Tim likes to go back in time in his dictionary when we
There's
do
a
these.
great scene. I absolutely love the dartboard scene. So,
oh yeah, and tell me, and I will say that was also parodied in that like Ed Begley Jr. little parody of the Invisible Man where I think he did something with the dartboard.
Yeah.
Like they played homage to all the.
Yeah, the friend. So the friend is he's kind of a lush, kind of like I said, kind of a bit of a scam artist.
Very loyal though.
Very loyal guy, and he's great. I loved him in this, but he goes into this tavern and he's like bragging about playing darts, and the Invisible Man, Robert Griffin, of course, he's invisible, so he's gonna help this guy win at darts. So he's like you just basically just pretend like you're throwing the dart and I'll take over. So the friend like sorry, I don't know these character names. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention, but he pretends like he's throwing the dart, and then the Invisible Man would just like carry the dart over and put it in the bullseye. Yeah. And then he's doing crazy stuff like doing it between his throwing it between his legs and stuff. It's a really hilarious scene.
My favorite was the accordion where he goes and he squeezes the accordion and it shoots it off, and then he takes all of the other guys. He goes, well, here, go get your darts, and he throws it like
he throws like 6 darts and they all hit the bullseye. It was hilarious. It's not played for like the same kind of level of like slapstick comedy. It's very
there's still the sinister element to
there's still a sinister element. It's very well done. It's very well done. I love that scene. I thought that was great. So yeah, I like that character. I like the kind of the intrigue of this one. I like the plot line of this one where he's kind of trying to get, like, there's a bunch of double crossing and he's trying to get back, and you're kind of sympathetic towards him, but at the same time you can't be because he's like a stone cold murderer.
Yeah, I couldn't find it, and that's kind of, it'll show my rankings later on too. I couldn't like him as much as I maybe they wanted me to, but and also there was I mean, I did like it. I just, to me, there was so much, like, when you were explaining it before, you're like, well, this goes there, this goes. There's like so many moving pieces to it in this, and to me, it got almost like, I mean, if a movie could be too wordy, but not in dialogue, but maybe in descriptiveness, it's like a lot. However, I will say one of the best sequences for me in this was that when the doctor, played by John Carradine, explains and gives examples of why invisibility works.
Oh, that was great.
I thought that was brilliant, and perhaps maybe the best written segment in all of the movies, because for once he explains it. He's like, well, you got to think of invisibility. It's like, this, and first he goes into the whole like scientific thing, how he explains, but then he gives examples. He's like, well, haven't you ever been fooled by like a bottle of water if it was filled or not filled because it was clear? And it was like, he goes on to say it was the absence of this, and when you have this thing absent, there's no visibility on it.
Yeah, you almost buy it, right? You're almost going, why can't they figure this out?
Like wait a minute.
Sense.
Yeah, why can't I do that time I, like accidentally walked in on somebody in the bathroom? Why couldn't I just go, oop, let me drink this?
And this scientist has an invisible dog as well, which I thought was,
right.
I really like the focus on the invisible dog in this one.
And he's got invisible like hamster or something, right, in there too.
He might. A bird. It was a bird.
A bird.
Parrot,
yeah. But and that's right. And this one though, and I loved it and here's a spoiler alert. But thank God, like for once, the dog like not only survives in one of these Universal horror films, but he like is like a hero.
Yes.
So
yeah, I like that whole section too. I think that's another reason why I liked. Kind of like this movie. There were different parts and pieces of it that I just scenes and things that I really enjoyed that I don't know that I got as many of those out of The Invisible Agent, which is why I ended up ranking that one lower. But
mine is my rank, like it's like these two are close in a way, I think. And when we go through our rankings in a minute, I'll probably elaborate a little bit better.
Yeah. So I mean, The Invisible Man's Revenge. This one's a solid entry. I thought this one was pretty decent. Again, it doesn't bring it all the way back to what I would consider a horror film, but I at least felt like it steered the ship a little bit more on course after the kind of wild departures of The Invisible Woman and Invisible Agent. So that will be reflected in our rankings, which I guess we'll get to right now. And we'll start at number 5. So I had The Invisible Agent as my number 5. I just, for some reason, again, a lot of it might just be me, my general just disinterest in this type of movie. I didn't really care for this one as much as the other 4. Again, that does not mean I didn't enjoy it at some level. Because, again, it's got Peter Lorre. It's got some great performances. I like the woman that played the agent. I thought she was really good. So it's got definitely got some scenes in there that I really enjoyed, but ultimately I had to go with my gut on this one, and it just kind of kept getting pushed down to the bottom of the list.
Yeah, and mine actually was Invisible Man's Revenge. Even though I said some positive things about it, there was one key element to me, I think, that kind of put it down there, and it was because of the spirit of the other films, even the other two. It's somehow, and hear me out. So remember how we said in the first one, our criticism was that a slight criticism was, as much as we loved it, it kind of like, the Invisible Man's kind of a dick, and he kind of like, and we've always said that, and we've joked about it, and horrified and everything, and because you'd see him already as that character, and he, but you hear through other people that he was a good guy, and the serum made him a madman. And in the second one, we see it as it goes, how Vincent Price's portrayal, that he's a really good guy and he's framed and he's trying to get out of it. And so he uses it and he's slowly going mad, but he's aware of it enough time and enough people aware, so you kind of see the whole process. Invisible Woman, sure, she kind of volunteers because she wants to get revenge on her boss, but it's justified. He's a misogynist a-hole, and he treats all of his people bad. So she does it out of like very good-natured, nothing vile towards him. And in The Invisible Agent, the same thing. He's kind of like takes that, he takes it to be like, to kind of help out. He doesn't really want to do it at first, but he kind of gets pulled in and does it for his reasons. But in this one, you start out with a not a great guy to begin with, and then he takes it to make him even, and for only sinister reasons. And while that's fine, it's, for what it is I think that's why it kind of like dropped down a little bit for me, because I always like lean towards, to find even the other villains, I try and find a little sympathetic thing here, and I didn't see it as much in this one. It's like, they try and tell you it is, but I didn't see it. So I think that's why it got knocked down a little bit. And it's like and for 4 and 5, I mean, they're really close.
Yeah.
They could be interchangeable for me, possibly even. So they're very, very close.
Number 4 for me, and I really hate that this one's number 4, is The Invisible Woman. And really, this one, I was really struggling whether to put this one above The Invisible Man's Revenge in the 3rd spot. And you there's two ways you can go on this. You can say, okay, am I reviewing this as into my level of entertainment as I was watching these? Or am I reviewing it as a horror podcast host talking about a horror franchise? And for me, that latter kind of just slightly won out. I put The Invisible Woman at the 4th slot because even though I really enjoyed it, it's not really an Invisible Man or woman type movie. It's not really plays into that archetype. It's a complete departure. Great movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I thought the character of the butler was just scene chewing at all times, but it was still hilarious. And so I don't disparage this movie at all. And I kind of, like I said, I hate that it's in 4th place. But ultimately, I felt like I had to order the franchise in what I felt from a horror fan's perspective they should be ranked in. And that's why I kind of put, and I guess you could argue, Tim, well, if that's the case, you should put an Agent above Woman because it's more closely a thriller than this. But I don't know. There's no way I could put Invisible Woman last for the level of enjoyment I had for it. There's just no way. So it unfortunately got bumped to the 4th spot. Still, I thought it was a great movie. It's again, you got to love the corny humor, but my God, of course, Brian and I love corny humor.
So yeah, for me, after number 4 is D'Amico's The Invisible Agent, just because I do like, I kind of like that style of film, but I think it'll go to my third. I put it just below spoiler alert again. Invisible Woman is my third, but the 4th one, just because I don't know. It's like I think I just had so much fun with the Invisible Woman, so that I had to give it its due. It won out for you the opposite way. For me, it won out this way. And plus, anything with Shemp in it is gonna get a bonus point.
Shemp probably does deserve to bump it up a complete ranking, but
yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Number 3 for me was The Invisible Man's Revenge. Obviously, you knew. I mean, Brian and I predicted last episode that what our top 2 are going to be. We knew that last week, so it was no surprise. And like Brian said, I mean, we could have. We had our threes, our latter 3, the ones we covered this episode, in completely different spots. But you know what? Pretty much expected, because they're so disparate films that I could see anybody ranking these in whatever motive they had to rank, because you could rank them in several different ways, and you could make the argument, and I would not argue with you, that you could put any of these movies atop any of the other bottom 3 movies and make a justified argument why it should be there.
Yeah, these 3 are I think they're. I'd be really stunned if out of this 5, if the first 2 weren't our first 2. Right. But as the bottom 3, you're right. 3, 4, and 5 could be any order, and you just can't debate it. I mean, you can discuss it.
It depends on what your priority is, what your motivation is. Yeah, and I don't think you could argue. I fully accept Brian's ranking. I could definitely see why he ranked him that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Invisible Man's Revenge to me really only got the 3rd spot because I felt like it most closely adhered to the through line of the first 2 movies and felt more like an actual Invisible Man movie. You did have a dislikable central character like the other 2 movies. To a lesser extent, number 2, but that's because that was before Vincent Price turned evil. But you still kind of had that kind of dislikable main character. I love the scene, the dartboard scene. I love the friend. I kind of enjoyed the convoluted plot. That was kind of a selling point for me. So that's why it got the number 3 slot. Yeah, I could see from an entertainment value. Honestly, I probably enjoyed Invisible Woman more. If you wanted to be quite honest, in terms of just pure entertainment value, but this one gets the nod for the kind of the keeping with the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, do we even need to discuss why we have what our 1 and 2s are, since everyone knows?
No, not at all.
Like we did it last week. Yeah, I mean,
we covered last week why Invisible Man's Return are in the 1 and 2 spots. I mean, Invisible Man's classic original, it was definitely going to take the number 1, and number 2 is a very solid sequel, just like Revenge of the Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's it's a very solid sequel, definitely worth your time.
Yep.
So that is it for our Universal horror movies. I would not even want to attempt to go into a ranking of all of the movies we covered over Summer Slaycation.
Yeah, I don't even know how we do it.
I don't even know
It's
how.
hard.
So I'm glad we kind of decided to just break them down by franchise and rank them individually between those. You guys let us know what you think. If you have some thoughts on your rankings for these, I hope you got some enjoyment out of this series. I hope that it inspired you to go back and watch some of these, especially some of the more obscure ones, because I really had a great time watching some of these that I was not as familiar with or that I had never seen before. I got some real gems out of that.
Yeah, and watching this really like cemented like the reason why I'm so happy those are in the monolith, you know, because it's such a if you're any kind of horror collector, I think all these sets are vital to your collection.
Yeah, I would put them in the essential category. Like, like if you own a Blu-ray player and you're a horror fan, you need to have these sets. Period.
Yes.
Yes. So we will be back next week, and I believe, Brian, I think we had decided we're probably not going to cover a film, but we're going to probably do some kind of just a catch-up episode, kind of possibly preview some Hallow Scream stuff. But we also want to really just actually, you know what? Next week, as you guys are hearing this, we'll be back from Hallow Scream.
Well, yeah, that's true. I guess we could do that as but we can't even do it as a recap episode from Hallow Scream. It'll be the following week. Maybe we'll do a mini-sode of that when we get back.
We may have to do we'll probably have a mini-sode in there somewhere because we're going to have to try to fit all this in. But definitely want to do like a recap episode of like stuff we've just watched. I mean, we watched all these
I have
horrors.
so many things I watched over the past couple of weeks, months that weren't on there. Some of them, thank God, the embargo lifts from stuff that Shudder sent us. Now that at least we can discuss a little bit more about that 101 Scariest Moments, because that's been released, at least the first 2 episodes.
Right, yeah.
So we can definitely get into that more. There's some great screeners that I saw that I think we can, I think my favorite one out of the screeners that I got, I think the embargo will break by the time the episode comes out, so I can discuss that. A lot of good stuff and a lot of good stuff coming up. We're already working on prepping a roundtable for October at some point, maybe towards the end of it, where we do we get our gang back. Ken, Cone, Emily, and we will do a Halloween ends roundtable. Yeah, because that one we gotta do that one. That one's too important not to have a thing. Of course, no Mo Dunford will not be unless he has a cameo somewhere as a surprise. I don't know if he does, but did I tell you when I made the joke about the Norwegian version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Mo Dunfjord?
Yes,
but okay.
I wonder if will charcuterie make an appearance this time? I don't know.
Oh, that's right. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, from what I understand, the little bits I've tried to stay away from spoilers for this. From what I understand, it's like, it's 4 years later, and it's like, I guess they incorporated the pandemic, so I don't think Haddonfield's done so well. So I doubt there'll be like charcuterie. It's going to be much of an option for a lot of the town. That's a little too COVID-y,
I guess, yeah.
Well, no, I just think the town is, like, not in great shape. So I don't know if they'll be, like, people, like, will be charcuterie. I think they'll be, like, probably just, like, barely surviving. I don't know. That's what I got, the vibe. Yeah. I could be completely wrong. Maybe,
because spoiler alert, Evil did not die that night.
No, it did not. And old Huckleberry did not save the day as it was supposed to. But
yeah, it'll be fun. We'll have I've been watching all kinds of random stuff. We watched Prey, which is the Predator prequel. I watched I've been watching I've been revisiting the Tombs of the Blind Dead series. That's a quadrilogy of Spanish zombie films that I've been kind of going through, kind of revisiting. I don't think I ever saw all 4 of them, but I remember enjoying the ones that I did see. So I might talk about that. So we're gonna have.
I think I saw one of them for one of the horror challenges. So.
Yeah, of course I gotta save some stuff for the horror challenge too. I gotta be careful.
Yeah, I gotta finish. I have some diabolical ones already. Yeah. Out there, but I try and put some easy ones, some good ones. I had one idea. I don't know exactly how to cultivate it, but it may be possibly, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet because I don't know if I can make it work into a true thing and make it fair, but it could be one of the hardest achievements to ever get.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
So yeah. So
I'm undefeated in horror challenges. Like
yes, Tim and I have not. Well, technically, the first one I really didn't. I couldn't even do all of because remember I unfortunately had to move in the middle of it, and I lost like 3 weeks of having any access to like things. So, but I don't count that one because I did like it wasn't the same that year anyway when we did it, so it was a little bit different.
No, but the one since we've done the like modern format,
yeah,
I'm undefeated in. I've always managed to complete them somehow, some way, and it gets crazy because you have to watch so many freaking movies in October.
But if you're careful, you can do it. We decided you still have to watch
you still got to watch 31. Period.
Yeah, that's always the bonus one. Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
But I thought the tough one last year was the one where I said you had to watch like a whole series, but like it had to have at least 5 episodes. So that's time consuming right there.
Yeah. I don't know. You always come up with some great diabolical ones.
Yeah.
So
like if I can get this one to work that I'm playing around with my head, it could possibly be the highest GB. What I do is just so you people realize I don't just throw them out there with no possibility. I do a little bit of a check. I do check to see if there are any things that like fit under that, whether it be 1 or 2 or but I always try and make sure that it's an achievable one. That's why I'm like wondering if this one I can possibly get it, but it's a doozy. If I can get this one to go, you guys are gonna either love me because I'm so brilliant at this challenge, or you are going to despise me because it's gonna be the thorn in your side through this this challenge.
Oh,
we'll see.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. We got a lot of stuff. A lot of good stuff coming your way, guys. So we will see you back here next week. Also look for our second half of our September dismemberment.
Yes.
So we will
it's coming soon.
We will see you or not see you if you're invisible next week.
Or they may fall down the stairs, which that would be my thing. Maybe that's why I like Invisible Woman so much, because I could totally relate to that.
To all the characters that are always falling? Yeah.
Pretty much. Especially that butler. That's totally me. Falling down the stairs, up the stairs, to the side, slipping on things. Yeah, that's totally me.
All right, guys. Take care.
And see ya.